like how I just cut you half sentence way to say, okay, we're starting.
Hello, everyone. How are you? How are you? How are you? How are you?
You know, you're just way too excited for me today. And again, all right, you know what I mean? And I'm sure the person who I had the 4:30 with is going to watch this and go, "You don't look that sick," because I just canceled a freaking 4:30 appointment today. I'm going, dude, I can't do it. I just can't do it. It's
not going to happen. Not going to happen.
I'm not leaving the house in this shape. But anyway, yeah, I'm drinking this to try to flush it all out. So some of you will understand what I mean by that. But anyway. Yeah, it's got to be flushed out.
You know, we were talking earlier before we got on to our show here that we're getting rid of a lot of things in our lives that we no longer want. And I'm curious as to if our audience is watching us, and hopefully you are, if you're going through the same thing. I mean, you get to that point when you've been doing something for so long and you think,
why?
Is this all that life is about, or is there more to it?
Yeah. Why?
Yes.
You start going, why? Like, no. I actually heard someone say something, you know what I mean? You ever hear someone describing their business and you just want to go, so what? Why?
Yeah.
What's the purpose behind that?
Yep.
And did you ever read The Purpose-Driven Life with Rick Warren?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. That book, all right, you know what I mean? It wasn't like that book is not what got me this way. That book was the start to understand how things move, right? But the more times I say the name is what that book is what got purpose-driven, right? How many times I see people who are not purpose-driven, focus-driven, all right? They're wandering around, right? And, you know what I mean? I went to the networking. I'm part of Master Networks now and in leadership in one of their chapters. And I have been in a ton of other networking things here in Dallas. I've been in eWomen, which I don't know if you're still in eWomen or not. Been part of eWomen. Didn't see how I couldn't make it in the focus of my business, right?
Yeah.
I was going to lead the chapter when Craig Duswalt was doing them, all right? Couldn't find a way to focus it into my business, right?
Yeah.
And I see so many people jumping on that crap. They're just jumping on what comes along. And even now, I mean, I go to networking functions and I see people who are all about the networking function for the moment. And granted, Master Networks is great at this, and Chaz Wilson, please don't take it that I'm cutting you down on this. They're great at the fact that they have a program that get people to, once you get involved, you basically can get others involved and basically be not costing you anything to go there.
Yeah.
And that is the focus when some people go, oh, I can get this and I can come for free. And they drop the fact that they came there to get business for their business. And they focus on building that other business. And that's where I was with, God bless you, Craig. I'm not picking on Craig. That's where I was. And I remember the day I had to send Craig that letter that I said, Craig, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Because Craig had a great concept out there, a great system out there, a great program that he followed from someone else. All right. He tweaked it and made it rock star. All right. Tony Caruso helped him do it. And I admired it. And I was 100% behind it. But I realized for me, not for everyone, for me, all right, it was over here and my business was over here and I wasn't able to connect the two. In other words, I had to choose, build this, build this, build this. I mean, and it was forever a seesaw of where to put my attention. And
I agree. I totally agree.
That's what we're getting to now with our focus. What are we focused on? Well, I got to go do this today.
Yeah.
Well, I got to go do this today.
Oh, this one came up.
Oh, this thing
came up. Oh, there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity. Yep.
We are not focused on why do we get in business? I got into this business of doing websites, and I knew you and was going to hire you to do my website, right? And like all of a sudden, Tim started my own website company. Why? Because I thought Katrina didn't do bad jobs? No. There was a niche that really, really, really tweaked at me, and I fulfilled that niche that you didn't, right? And I'm not going after your clients. I went after a whole other aspect of clients because that niche frustrated me and I wanted to come up with a solution.
Yep.
Right? Now, everything I do is focused on that solution. Right? Not on networking, not on podcasts, not on live events, virtual events, made up, Facebook, LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah.
Webinars.
Doesn't fit. Don't care. Right? Yep. Not here to go 50 different directions. I'm here for one focus and one focus only. Right? And I think too often we're missing that in business right now, where we're not willing to, okay, this is no longer serving the purpose of what God has me on this earth for. Why am I doing it?
And I have to say, I'm going through the same thing. I mean, and I know I'm going to reveal here that I have an opportunity right now to build my business farther, or to start downsizing, or to start towards the end. Because the thing is I remember when I was younger, for the longest time, I said, you know what, with Social Security and everything else, I'm taking it at 62 because I want all of it as much as I can and blah, blah, blah. I have a year left and I'm going to be 62. A year. I never thought this would come here, but now I'm at a precipice that I have to sit down and figure out, do I want to keep this going? Do I want to keep working? Maybe I can work part-time and retire, or whatever.
Maybe, just maybe, you sell your company to Tim.
Just maybe. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. No, think about that. Maybe
we can work something out. But the thing is I'm getting to this point where I'm closer to the end of my career than I am at the beginning of my career.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people are, don't you want to ramp up? No, I'm tired. I'm done. Yeah. I've been doing this for 16 years. I'm done. I'm now. My focus with my new company is training my children to run this. Yeah, I'm not building this so I have this great new company. No, I'm building something that I can train my kids to run. And that's what I said. Maybe, you know what I mean? We partner with you, all right, and take over your workload, and you get residual check every month. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm just.
If we don't do that, and we're not in the web business anymore, do we start a new podcast called Tim and Katrina Are Retired?
People dealing with this right now because they
no wait a minute, we gotta stop here for a minute. Katrina and Tim don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, done. I mean, just think about all of the training we've gone through, all of the money we've spent over the years, what we've put in place, whether it worked, whether it didn't work, whatever the case may be. I'm to that point where I just want to sit out in my backyard, read a book, enjoy a drink, enjoy nature, go out to lunch with the girl, whatever. That each day comes and I just decide what I'm going to do or what I'm not going to do. Instead of, I got this to do and this to do and this to do and this to do, and then I got that and then I got this and I'm tired of the to-do list. I'm done.
Did you know Craig Batley from Craig Duswalt's group?
Yeah, I remember.
Remember Craig? All right. Craig, I mean, I met Craig many, many years ago. Probably 10, 11 years I've had a good relationship with Craig, right? And he was like, his kids came in. He was setting his kids up to run his company. And he realized, well, I don't want to retire, but I got the company set up so I don't have to do that much. And the kids were like, oh, they're trying to push him out the door.
Nathan.
It's a dog-eat-dog world on this podcast today.
Ouch! The dogs are.
So, anyway, Craig, actually, his kids went and started another company.
Yeah.
They complemented his company.
So they were running his company, but then
they were going to run his company, but instead they started another company.
Okay.
It complements. It's kind of a competitor, but it complements. So it's like two companies, but they have other aspects they do that Craig's doesn't do. But Craig has the system set up that half the time he says he don't even talk. He's also a website client of mine, so it's like he doesn't go to the office half the time. It's like, what do I have to go in for? You know?
Yeah.
That's where some of us are getting like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And we thought like 10 years ago, well, yeah, I'm going to do this forever. I'm not.
No, and I think there are seasons in your life that there's the season when you first start, you're in school, and the only thing you can think about is I can't wait to graduate so I can get the hell out of school and not have to deal with homework. Then you have the season where now you're starting to work in the workforce and you're dealing with a whole bunch of different people and paradigms and dynamics and so on and so forth. And you're dealing with all of that. And there's that season. Then you get to another season, I think, in midlife where you realize gosh, I've done this and I've done that. What else is there to do? And you start to change things, whether that be your career or life choices, whatever. Yeah. And then you start to get to that season where I think we're at, where you're at that point where you've done this, you've done this, you've done that, you've done this, you've done all these things, and you've done them at a high level. You've done them and you've proven you can do them. But now you're looking at yourself and you're going, okay, what's next? What do I do next? I've already done this stuff. Yeah. Now what? And I think that's what a lot of people are going through in some respects when they get to that point where
when you say a lot of people though, is that because a lot of the people you know are people like you?
Yes.
Or is it because you have a census on the world?
A little bit. I don't have a census on the world, but a lot of it has to do, well, and take a step back. As you know, we moved to New Mexico. We moved into a lovely, beautiful neighborhood. But what we didn't realize is that most of the neighborhood is retired because that's who could afford this neighborhood. The locals can't afford this neighborhood. And I'm not bragging or anything because trust me, we're only affording.
I'm not bragging, but I'm in the richest place in town. I'm not bragging though.
Because of what we got for our California home. I'm just saying. But there are a lot of people that are
from California.
How many?
Yeah.
Oh, we have several.
See?
We have several that are from California. And that's because you get more for your housing out in California. It's a lot different housing. But regardless of that, most of them are retired. And I would have thought I'd never retire. I'd be working for the rest of my life. No big deal. But now I'm looking at things different. I'm looking at them with a different eye. And these people that are surrounding me, people would say, what are you going to do when you retire? Just sit around in your rocking chair?
No, I'm going to sit around in my underwear. So you can
These people have a lot in their lives, and they're very active, and they're doing all kinds of different things. So no, I think what we looked at as retirement when our parents retired, or if they retired, is different than it is today. We have choices today. And I don't know if they necessarily looked at things that way as we do today. I think it's much different today to retire than it was then. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Well, then again, retirement is different for different levels. All right.
Oh, yeah.
I brought this up on my podcast, or no, for my mastermind, and talking about it then, saying retirement. And someone said, don't say retirement, because really you're not going to retire. You're going to retire from certain things.
Yes.
You're still going to be active on something, but you're going to retire from certain things. Why? It's like I retired from working for other people 20 years ago, practically. You know, I don't work for other people because I have a system in place that I don't have to. Now I'm trying to get a system in place so that I don't have to. Well, my thing now is getting a system in place so I don't have to go anywhere to speak anymore. I hate it, so I do virtual speaking. Next thing is get a system in place so I don't have to do virtual speaking. Yeah. Sorry to those people who I still am booked at 2 places this month, and some of you are going, oh, wait a minute, he's not speaking? I'm still speaking at your event this month, but you know, I have 2 meetup groups, and the numbers that are showing up at the meetup groups, I'm starting to go, well, maybe it's not worth it. I'm about to use the meetup groups and just blast them to give one last hoorah.
Yeah, and say, if you guys still want to do this, this is where we're at. But if not, this is where we're going.
No, I think I'm going to take, I was telling somebody, like, I still have a ton of Craig Duswalt's son, Tyler's books. And I think I'm going to mass shoot those books out to the people in my meetup groups and offer them for free with a, you know what I mean, ship it, you know, with $5 shipping and handling. So basically it gives me enough money to put in an envelope and ship it to them, right?
Yep.
Because I can clear that and I can take a bunch of people off the meetup list and put them onto my list.
There you go. It's one way of doing it. But I mean, I just think, I don't know. I mean, I'm at a different season of my life.
Are you?
I am. And I have to figure out, what is the next season going to look like? Is it going to be chilly? Is it going to be hot as Hades? Like 118 in Arizona?
Wait. Are we talking chilly as in, you know what I mean, you moved to Alaska? Or are we talking chilly as in you're in New Mexico and putting those chilly peppers to work and making chili for everybody.
New Mexico, putting those chili peppers to work.
Putting them chili peppers to work for everybody and making some, and joining the chili competitions.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't know about that.
Oh, no. We're on our way back today. All right. And I took my daughter to my networking meeting, and we're talking about, we went by this place called Wild Fork that you can get different wild meats. And one of them is venison, which I'd like to make a venison chili. And my daughter goes, "Ooh, I like venison chili." I says, "Yeah, mine's the best." She goes, "We should have a cook-off." I'm like, "Don't care for a cook-off as to who's better. Don't care."
I already know.
My daughter's like, "Yeah, but we should." I'm like, "Jess, I get it. I'm past caring."
Yeah.
Like my ribs. I'm not interested in rendering my ribs into a contest. I love making my ribs for people, right? And I like it now that I have a larger smoker. I can make a couple. Well, not really. I can't make much more than I used to because this is a small smoker. But I get a bigger smoker. I could make several different racks. I used to make 3 racks at a time, and I used to chop one rack up and take it to the people at Starbucks. And I used to just take it down wrapped in foil and thing of sauce and go down, and I used to drop it off. But here, guys, here's some ribs for you guys.
Yeah. Nice.
Just love. I mean, and then I had 2 racks at home for me. So
you can always send them New Mexico way.
Yeah, they don't ship well. However, I did ship my sauce for my other podcast. I shipped my sauce up, and Gladys got some of my sauce.
Oh, I see.
My sauce has to stay in a glass jar. There is no way to keep it chilled when I ship it. It is not that there is no preservatives in it, so it's tough to ship it.
Yeah, I get it.
I don't know, and I don't know a way to do it that I could, unless I put it in fresh and put it in a canner and where it would seal.
Yeah, you can always do that.
Yeah,
it's one way of doing it if you want it. It's one way.
Yeah.
You going to start a barbecue business now?
No.
Nope. So where are you at with your season of business and your season of life?
Well, I'm ramping down every event, like virtual events. I will ramp them down this year. This year will be the last I do any of them. Probably going to ramp down doing my live events, and then I'm going to take all of the stuff that I wrote and created over the years, and I think I'm going to just offer it and discount rates to people on internet sales pitches to my list, and that's it. Right? Yeah. I'm just going to put it out, and I don't know how long I'm going to keep it or if I'm going to print it or what, but I want to phase out of doing anything to do with that company or anything to do with day-to-day operations of the website company by my birthday in 2024. So September 2024.
How, and I ask, what birthday is that?
I think that's 58.
58? Yeah. Okay. Well, you're getting there.
So but I'm building, I actually am going to look at a five unit apartment building. So going into a whole other phase where I basically run apartment buildings. Well,
and you were already talking about going into.
Well, I'm already in real estate, but a deal came up that I thought it was a 4-unit building, and I found out it was a 5-unit building, and that kind of crosses a line in real estate from single family to multifamily.
Yeah.
So I'm going through different education onto it, and I'm looking at this project because it's a little bit different, and looking at it because it's an adventure. Basically, when I go get it fixed up, I move on to another one and do it all over again. And I probably come up with, in the next 3 years, I probably can own 5 to 10 of them.
I don't know. I just think that, and a lot of people I've talked to, not just in the neighborhood, but other people I've talked to that I've been with, some people are ramping up and some people are at that point where I'm done. I don't want to do anymore. I'm going to do something different. Or some people are even starting a whole brand new business at the age of 74, which I don't get. I just don't get.
Well, I mean, I'm 57 and I started one.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I don't know. I know it's a challenge, and if they're up for that challenge, by all means, all power to them. But, I was just thinking about the other day, we've talked about this. I've been working since I was 14.
Yeah, me
14
too.
years old. Long time. And I put a lot of time in. And I know articles that I've read here and there, they say, if you're going to retire early because you can get the majority of it. And plus you can enjoy life instead of.
Yeah, but are you retiring? Wait a minute. Are you retiring based on the fact that this is what I can get from Social Security?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's and it may be a semi-retirement. I don't know. That's something I've got to look at.
I have no clue what I would get from Social Security, and I don't care. That blows most people away. Why? Because I'm building up residual income that comes in with real estate and stuff without me working.
Yeah.
So I don't care what you're offering me in Social Security. I'll take it, but I'm not going, well, I need to position everything. No, I'm not positioning my life for what Social Security. I'm positioning my life for what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Social Security comes great. Okay, great. But I built my entire life and every business I've done along the way, not ever counting on Social Security.
Which is something that a lot of people do.
Well, a lot of people who are like me do. My wife, no. My wife has got Social Security. She dumps my ass, all right? She's got to live off Social Security. But she has a lot in there because she had a very good job.
Yeah. There. Well, and I have quite a bit in there too as well because it was very lucrative for several years. I mean, I was in the corporate sector for over 30 some years. So I've got a lot of time built up. But just like you said, you've got to figure out, it's just a matter of just looking and seeing what's going to work. And what do I want to do? What do I want to do when I grow up?
well, I'm John Limbacher's called before this, and John said he says, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. All right. Like John has a pretty lucrative business and he's going into a whole other realm because he basically leaving out of one realm, moving into another.
Yeah.
And that's what it gets to be really, is those people who are going, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm going to move on to something else, and this new thing that becomes enticing. So I want to go do the new thing.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily that I'm quitting and doing nothing. It's no, I'm quitting this because this no longer excites me. So I'm moving on to something new that excites me.
I agree. Yeah. I agree, and what that looks like.
Yeah, it's not necessarily rocking in the rocking chair because I do that anyway. So I do. I've got 2 rocking chairs on my front porch. All right. And Saturdays and Sundays in the mornings, I'll sit on the rocking chair. In the evening, I'll sit out back. You know what I mean? I just,
Yep. But I mean, and the opportunities that we have, we're very fortunate and appreciative because there's a lot of people out there that don't even have those opportunities because of the choices they've made in life.
Yes.
So, and I think that's what is the beauty of being an entrepreneur is you get to decide. You get to decide how fast you want to go. You get to decide how slow you want to go. You get to decide how much you want to make, how little you want to make. You get to decide. And when you're with a corporate job and you're relying on that corporate job, they get to decide, not you. Yeah. I mean, you can to a certain degree. By all means, you can go into a different career, go to a different company, whatever the case may be. But it still comes down to, are you truly in control of it? As opposed to, I think, as an entrepreneur. I don't know. I've done both. Mm-hmm. And I feel you have a lot more control when you're an entrepreneur for your career path than you do as a corporate.
You do. But you also, I mean, like, I was talking to my daughter today, there are 2 people in this world. There's people who are creators and there's people who work for the creators, right? Mm-hmm. And, entrepreneurs are creators.
Yeah.
So when the creation process, as an entrepreneur, when the creation process stops, like they're no longer creative in that area, that industry, that job, all right, a lot of them quit and walk away, right? You know what I mean? They're selling it off. They're going, why? Because the creativity is gone. They want to create something new. That new creation could be, I want to create barbecue in the afternoon and have people come by on Saturdays. It could be, I want to create parties once a week. It could be, that could be your new thing. I just want to go, I don't need money. So I just want to create this charity event and hold it every Friday. And you know what I mean?
Yep.
There's a lady in my group that hosts, she does it a whole lot with charity that helps grandparents take care of grandkids that are there because of substance abuse in the child.
Yeah.
So, which is a matter close to their heart.
Yeah.
Because they ended up in that situation where they're having to raise 2 grandkids because the parents had substance abuse problems, and that's how the grandkids came about. All right. And the parents really weren't there or couldn't be there to raise them.
Yeah. So then the
And
parents have to.
that is a very, very much issue in a lot of places. And that's why she made that as a charity to help people in that certain instance. So
Does she do that across the board, or does she just do it in Texas?
I think they're mainly in Texas. So yeah.
That's something that I think everybody in every city needs, because as we know, there's a lot
of charity opportunities like that to do nonprofits or foundations, things of that nature, based on problems that are out there in the world. And after you've retired, that's the place, or after after you're done set up in life, that you don't have to go work 9 to 5, all right, to keep the computers running at IBM, or or do something along that lines, right? You don't have to be out there in a building. Now you go into that phase where you go, okay, now how do I help the next generation? And to me, it has always been, I didn't go to college, all right, and I've worked in the trades kind of most of my life. In the trades you work with, you go in as an apprentice. Someone who's more seasoned at the job trains you to be good in that field.
True.
Right? Now you work in that field. To me, once you've reached this age of 50 years old, 55 years old, you are now the teacher to the apprentice.
Yeah.
Right?
Now you're teaching.
Yeah. Whereas opposed to like too many people, we have the carpenters out there who are still trying to hack at it because they're trying at 50 years of age to keep going. Well, the body doesn't work that hard at being a carpenter at 50 years of age.
No.
All right. You are now at the point that you need to be training 2 to 3 20-year-olds to do this. All right. We have a problem in the trades industry. And I made a joke at the networking this morning I know there's a statistic on how many statistics are made up. So I'm not going to give you the statistic number, but I read this week and seen this where they're talking about, on average, for every person like in the trades, carpenter, plumber, electrician, things of those nature, right? For every 10 that leaves, only 2 more join.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
All right. And you go back 20 years ago, if we had 100 in that field, we now have 20 in that field.
Yeah.
And it's only going down because we're not training the next generation on how to continue that field. I know Mike Rose Charity's big on that, but yeah.
Well, and part of that though too, and this is something we've had the discussion on with AI. AI, in some respects, artificial intelligence is taking over some of those jobs. Not all of them, but some of them. And I think in some respects, I think the younger generation are looking at AI and thinking, well, what can I do that I don't have to work too hard, but just hard enough? And I think that's the mindset.
Lazy, I hate to say this, lazy people get more done. You want to do something, give it to a person who's lazy, because that lazy guy is going to go out there and find a way to get the job done so he doesn't have to continue working at it.
Yeah.
Now, the difference, there's 2 types of lazy. There's lazy as in, I don't want to be doing this every day for the rest of my life, so I want to find a way to get it to work faster without me having to be there all the time. Yeah. And then there's lazy as in, I refuse to get up off my fucking ass and actually put food to my mouth.
Yeah,
I'm that lazy that I'll starve to death before I'll put the spoon to my mouth. That's a different kind of lazy. We're talking about the lazy person who doesn't want to do the tasks they watch their grandparents do, their parents do, their great-grandparents do.
And it's smarter. It's smarter.
They want to work smarter.
But they work smarter.
Yeah.
And that is something that I think for a long time as generation, we had a hard time with, because we were raised, you work hard, you do this and you get that. But now you don't have to work as hard because there's so many systems in place in the internet and platforms and all kinds of shit that now you don't have to work as hard. Like you said, you can set up these systems, have it work for you, and you're not working as hard and you're still making money.
Yeah.
And I think that's the wave of the newest generation, which is great. And if they
that's why we have so many TikTokers making money on TikTok.
Exactly. They figured out how to do it. They figured out and you've got influencers that are, and of course,
they basically do nothing for a living, but you were dumb enough to follow them, so they basically get a penny for every time you follow their video.
And then there's also the de-influencers. I don't know if you've read this, but the de-influencers are those that are going in and talking about the influencers and how they were paid to do this product. This product actually is not as good as this product. So we're giving you the truth. So now they're getting more money than the influencers. I don't know. It's just like you got to decide what's going to work best for you. And as an entrepreneur, sometimes that takes a while to figure it out. But like you said, when you're going back into a lot of the generation that we're losing, where there's a lot of skill set that younger generations aren't interested in knowing.
Yeah.
And that's building homes. I know they're coming up with other ways to do that, but still you need people to do that.
No. Yeah. What we have now, all right.
To do that.
We're getting into it. We can get into a sub where we can almost go political with that one and going, so many people are like, well, we want to, we don't want to let so many immigrants in. A lot of these immigrants coming in are the ones that are willing to do that labor at the younger age. My neighbor lives right here. All right. He's, 38, 39 years old, runs a gutter company. He's from El Salvador. He has a business, him and his brother, putting gutters up on things all over town. That's their business. They're workers. They're willing to do stuff that you and I aren't. I'm not willing to climb that ladder to put that gutter up. No, I've helped him put the gutter up on the side of his house. They put a fence, all of his buddies, builders, they all come over and put a fence up this weekend. It would take me 2 weeks, 3 weeks by myself to do what they did in one day.
Yep.
I don't want to do that work, right?
Well, and that's the same way where you're out picking the crops.
Yeah. I don't want to be out there picking strawberries. I like to eat strawberries, but I don't want to go out there and pick them.
People get upset about that, or the maids that are in the hotels, or a lot of the fast food
maids in the hotels. I don't want to clean my own damn house up. I want to pay a maid to do it.
Nope. And like you said, it might be a political thing, but the thing is that we still need these workers. We still need these people to do the job. However, there's a lot of people that are in the United States, they don't want to do those jobs. Even teenagers, no, I'm not going to go pick strawberries. I'd rather just sit on my ass and do this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. Even if it's money that they could make, it's still, that's too hard work. So they leave that to those people that they're willing to do it because they need the money and they have the tenacity and they know what they're providing for a family.
Yeah.
That's their goal.
But still, we're looking through the influencers, or we're looking through the rich sports figures, all right, and going, well, why? I'd love to make $14 million to swing a baseball bat, not realizing how many times that guy swung that bat to get better at it.
Yeah,
and over and over. Work he put in to get that good.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
And that's another area where we sometimes get stuck into that. Well, I don't want to work that hard. I work day and night to build a website company at 56 years old age. Yeah. And it's hard on the body to do it because I'd love to. Last night, I think was the first time that my wife wasn't home that I actually went out and sat down and watched 2 movies. I watched the first one and I was like, I still got energy, so I'll watch the second one. So I went to bed at 12:30 this morning.
Yep. And then the beauty about being an entrepreneur is you have choices. I think you have a lot more choices. But the hardest part about being an entrepreneur as well is a lot of times up front, you got to do it all yourself until you start to figure out the systems, until you start to figure out what works, what doesn't work, until you figure out, have you filled that gap or have you not filled the gap? Or do you start to figure out in regards to the networking pieces and where's the best networking to go to, where your audience is, and have you figured out your audience? I mean, there are all these things you've got to go through as an entrepreneur that I think people don't really think about when they first start a business. I know I didn't. When I first started a business, I hung my son up on the wall and had my license and said, let's do this.
Well, no, it's how hard, as an entrepreneur, how hard are you willing to work to maintain what you got? And this is where it comes down as we get older. I don't want to work that hard to maintain it anymore.
Well, and we're at
a lot less, but I want the same income. How do I do that?
Yeah.
And over the years, we were taught in a work situation, all right, we work hard so we can go back every year and get a review and we can get a raise.
Yep. Yep.
No. And I'm trying to build my website company in a way to help the people who come on board to work for me, so they never have to come in and say, I need a raise. I'm trying to set them up financially so they don't have to ever get that way.
You know, it was interesting, and I can't remember the gentleman's name now, but I was watching him. It was a TED Talk, and he was talking about poverty. Yeah. And he was talking about why we have poverty, and the point behind it and so forth, and saying that a lot of times it's difficult because people are put in a situation that is hard for them to get out of, and then they just start spiraling down. But what he was saying is, based on the amount of money we use on our military, the amount of money we use on spending on things that, of course, we never see as a country and so forth in regards to the government. He said, if we spent a portion of that and paid these people a living wage of what they are owed.
It's not about the living wage. It's about they don't know what to do when they get the wage.
Well, not just that, but the thing is most of the people that get into these situations, a lot of time with big corporations, the first thing they cut, and I've been there, the first thing they cut are the Indians. They don't cut the chiefs, they cut the Indians. The Indians are the one who do the work. The chiefs don't, the Indians do. And then usually what happens is they'll cut all the Indians, and then they realize, oh, wait, we cut too many. We need some more back. Then they try hiring them back. But by then, a lot of them have found other jobs. And this is a cycle that they go through over and over and over again, all for their bottom dollar. But during this cycle, 9 times out of 10, their committee, their VP, CEO, and so on and so forth, get a raise, a big, huge raise, while they're laying off all of the people that are doing the work.
Okay.
But they're not, in a lot of cases, and even with some of the businesses that are fast food and so forth, they don't want to pay people a wage that they can survive on. They would rather have 10 people working 2 hours here, 2 hours there, so that they have to have at least 3 jobs to make that up, than to pay 5 people $16 an hour or $17 an hour, and they could live on that 3 hours a week.
Okay, yeah, but flip that. We have a product that we can sell for so much. All right.
True.
It takes 3 people to create such product. How many of them can they create in an hour? So let's say they can create, those 3 people can create 15 of those products. And that product sells for $100. And each one of those people want to be paid $50 an hour. How long are they going to be making that product?
Not very long.
No, because it costs them. Even at $30 an hour, it costs them more to make it than it does to sell it. And that's what we've gotten into as a society, going, well, this company needs to give us a living wage. Great. You are not paid what you are worth in a job. You are only paid what a job position is worth. In other words, if the product sells for $100 and it takes you, it takes you an hour to create it, or 2 hours to create it by yourself, and you think, well, they're faking a $50 profit. No, they're not. You're not their only cost at $50, $25 an hour.
I understand that, but it also depends on the product, because there are a lot of things out there that are 800 to 900% increased so that they get more money.
But there's a lot of things that aren't.
But they could be making,
especially in the food industry.
Well,
there's a lot of companies out there.
I agree with that.
Profit margin is 4%.
But in their pharmaceutical industry?
Well, we're not talking about that industry.
The shoe industry. I mean, there's a lot of industries where they set a price.
But what if we actually taught our staff, the people who work for us, we taught them how to build a life so that they never had to ask us for a raise?
Yeah.
Let me give you this concept. Teaching every new employee that comes on board. Before they went, all right, and got, man, I got a new job and I make $50 an hour. Let me go out and buy a new Mercedes. I want to buy a new house. I want to get me a new chair. I want to, no, before you buy all that stuff and you make $100, put 35 of it or 50 of it away in an investment.
Yeah.
An investment that buys stocks that pay you a dividend. Put it into something that it's going to pay you monthly some amount of money. All right. So you buy $1 worth of stock and it pays you 1 penny every month.
But herein lies is, how do you find that stock and how do you educate yourself enough? And I'm just asking this question to be, I understand that. I'm asking that question. How do you find those things and know you found the right one where you're not going to lose money?
So again, teach them the deals of risk versus reward. I buy stocks that pay a dividend. So I bought, and right now the value of my stocks that I bought are up here, right? It shows you their worth right here, but they pay me a check every quarter.
Yeah.
There's money coming in. There's a reason I didn't sell them and take the loss, because they continually send me a check every quarter, no matter what. So if you're buying stuff that does that, no matter what the price of the stock is, you're still got money coming in.
So are you going to train your employees or the people that work for you on how to, not only you're paying them that money, but you're going to show them how to invest that money? So then that way now it's essentially showing the horse to the water and the horse drinks the water, or showing a man how to fish instead of giving a man a fish, essentially. So are you going to be training your employees?
I'm not going to be the one doing all the training. Instead, I'm going to, how many people do you and I know who train people on something, right?
Oh, yeah.
So why not bring in all of these people to train the employees and staff on things they can do to better their own life?
I agree.
All right. The problem is we don't, because it's taken away as looking at, well, you're telling your employees what to do. No, I'm not. I'm giving them advice on how they can. There are going to be ones that are going to take advantage of it. And here's what's going to happen when they take advantage of it. Is within 5 to 10 years, they really won't need a job from me. If they do it right. There are going to be people who aren't going to listen, and they're going to need that job 5 to 10 years because they've got to eat. But I would rather give people the opportunity to learn a way that they don't need me. It's almost like, I'm going to teach you this, and in 5 years, you're going to walk out onto me, and I know it, but I'll have to train somebody else.
But that's the key, though. That's the key, is you want these people to be able to live on their own and doing their own thing instead of relying on you on a regular basis.
So I'm not the only creator in the bunch. I'm also creating creators.
Yeah. Right?
But in the meantime, I've got to give them something they need. They need to do a service that I need done, and they get paid for it.
Yeah.
All right?
Well, and think of all the companies out there that would be willing to do that same motto instead of just, you're here to do a job. We're going to pay you this much. Mm-hmm. I don't care what you do with the money. All I know is this is what you're here to do. This is how much we're going to pay you. Oh, and by the way, we can't guarantee your job will be here by tomorrow because we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. But to me, I'm making it so even if you worked for me for a short period of time, the education you got working for me as a free extra bonus, right?
If you listen,
the free extra bonus, all right, that there was worth more than the salary I paid you while you worked for me.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the way I think we should all be working in regards to business.
So, yeah, and I'm trying to build my whole thing on a you know what I mean? So like on 30 hours a week, they can make a living, right? And trying to teach them how to do tasks and get them tasks done faster, right? So that they're not repetitive. So they basically, if they have this is my list of tasks and I can learn to get it done in 10 hours, I still get the same pay as the guy who takes 40 hours to do it, right? But I get paid by the task is how I want to do it. And I get it. There's going to be struggles in trying to do this, but I want them paid that way. So if they learn to work fast, they learn to get done. But then I want to put in the training saying, okay, this is training that is eventually available for you so you can learn how to have a better life and not just a job.
Yeah.
And if I have to, I will make, where I pay them an hour a week to be in mandatory training. Right? So now you're being paid to come into this for an hour a week.
Yeah.
All right. And then there's optional training on the outside of it if you want it.
Well, and I think personally, in regards to corporate, that's one of the things they don't do well is they don't invest in their employees.
Yeah.
They just say this, you're an employee, this is what you're doing, that's it, like we talked about. And I think if they took more time to invest in their employees, they'd have better employees, they'd have a better model, they'd have a better atmosphere, and more people would be willing to work with them or work for them than just, I don't work with them. They did this or that, and they end up.
And I remember the 1990s when I went to work. When I actually joined, a friend of mine got me into multi-level marketing with Amway, and with Amway, yeah. And we had a talk one day. We were just in a roundtable mastermind discussion about this, and he said, he says, I really feel companies should pay more when they become Amway distributors. And I'm like, why? He says, because everybody who comes here to Amway, in our groups, we're training them on how to be a better human, a better husband. We're teaching them to now work, all right? Every job you do, you're supposed to give 110% at. So now these people are going into their jobs and doing more. And I remember taking on that mindset as a young kid, right? And I remember one of the jobs I had was working for a produce company, washing and fueling their trucks. And we had to be at the fuel island when trucks came in to fuel them up. But throughout the night, we had to wash trucks. And our thing was we had to wash 15 trucks a night. 3 guys, 8 hours, 15 trucks. It took that machine, I think, 7 or 8 minutes to wash the truck by pulling it in, and you run a machine around it, right?
Yeah.
7 to 8 minutes. One night, I'm like, and we did the work, and then we'd sit down. One night, I said, you know what? I'm going to see what I can do by myself. Since you guys aren't going, I'm see what I can do myself. I did 45 trucks myself that night. 45 trucks.
And did you get paid per truck?
I didn't get paid per truck. But imagine that. Me taking on that work ethic. Now I'm willing to do, the job requires this much. I'm willing to do this much. I didn't say I wanted extra pay because I did this much. I just felt I'm here giving you, I'm here being paid by the hour. I need to give you the best effort possible.
Yeah.
I need to give you your full hour, not let me do the bare minimum and sit on my ass and take that hourly pay. Again, imagine how much nicer and more productive the company would come if more people took that attitude.
Yeah, I agree.
And that was his idea behind that. And when they joined Amway, they should be harder workers. They become harder workers. And that, I thought about that now over the years. And I thought, it's people who are trying to build a side hustle, as Gary Vee calls it. And they still have to work a job. These are people who come into the job and they realize, okay, I'm trying to build a company and I want 100% of my company. So while I'm putting time in someone else's company to get a paycheck, I need to give 100% of that company.
Yep. And
these are people who produce more in our world. But we create a world of lazy people who are like, well, I get paid by the hour. Nah, that's not my job description. Not my job, man. Not my job.
Yeah. Well, and that was like, my mom taught me that as well. When I started as an administrative coordinator and I was working for directors and VPs and so forth for a big company, I remember women always, or not women, but just the ACs in general would say, oh, that's not my job. Oh, that's not my job. And somebody would say, can you do that? Absolutely. Because that was more I could add to my resume, more that I could add to my repertoire, because now I've learned how to do this. Now I've learned how to do that. Now I've learned how to do this. So when I went for interviews and I had my resume, it read much better than their resume because I didn't think inside the box. I always thought outside the box. Yeah. Yeah. And my mom always taught me, the one thing she taught me the most is you become an asset, not a liability. Because when you become a liability, you're no longer good for that company or anybody else. So you always become that asset. And I taught my son that when he was at a job and he was pissed because they had him doing this or had him doing that. I said, you learn every job there is there so that you're the one that becomes indisposable, because they know you can do everything, where this other guy can only do this thing, and this other guy can only do this thing, and you have to do it all.
Yeah.
That's how you become an asset.
Wait a minute. And then when they have the layoffs, who are they going to lay off? The guy who went, well, I know how to do this, as opposed to the guy who goes, well, I do this, I'll do it.
Yep.
They're going to keep that guy longer.
Yep.
Right? If in the layoffs, they're going to keep that guy longer. Why? Because they know he's going to do 10 times the work, right?
Plus, they know he knows how to do all of those jobs as opposed to just one. So they realize that they can have him doing five people's different jobs.
Five people's
when
jobs.
they go off because they know he knows how to do it.
And wait a minute. Now, are the people the people who got laid off, are they pissed off?
Of course they are.
Why?
They lost their job.
They lost their job.
Well,
why did they lose their job?
Because they didn't take the effort to say, you know what, I'm going to learn all of this so that I can become an asset, not a liability.
Bingo, right? And I remember I worked for a body shop I came on as the guy who used to clean the cars up after they were done being painted and everything. I cleaned the cars up, prepped them to give to the customers. And then a gentleman left the job that I could move up into. So I moved up into that job. And I remember doing that job. And I was there for about a year doing that job. The guy who replaced me, oh man, the stomach is rumbling. The guy who replaced me was there for like 4 or 5 months and then quit. They couldn't find somebody else to do the car washes. So then they came up to me and said, wait a minute, don't you have a part-time job company that does car washes? I'm like, yes. Would you be interested in doing our car washes? Okay. So I started taking company cars home at night and cleaning them, bringing them back into work the next day, and getting paid to be at home. And I remember one night doing that, and I went out to dinner with some girl on a date while I paid somebody to clean that car. And then the next morning I took it in, I got paid, and I got paid for my job. You know, it's like I ended up doing both jobs and making more money because the opportunity opened up. Eventually I left that company, but I kept the contract of cleaning their cars.
Yep.
All right. So eventually I quit the job, and yet I still kept the income.
Yeah. I just think a lot of times the mindset now is I'm thinking inside the box. I'm not going outside the box because I'm not getting paid to do this outside the box. I'm only getting paid to do this. So that's all I'm going to do.
That's it.
You're not an asset. You're a liability. You need to think outside the box. Whether you're getting paid to do it or not, you're becoming the employee that is more valuable than the other employee.
Yeah.
And like you said, when the layoffs come around, they're going to keep you around when they're going to lay off all the other people that said, that's not my job. I'm sorry. This is my job. That's all my job is.
Let's flip back to what we started the whole show with today. There's things that we're getting tired of doing. But when you do that, you not only become an asset to your company, an asset to yourself, learning to build your own assets up. Now, I don't want to do this anymore. You walk in, and this happens. I can tell you how many times it's happened to me. You walk in the company, I'm just not feeling this job anymore. I think I'm going to move on. I can tell you, I've had more jobs that they asked me not to go.
Yeah, I have
one job in particular. I remember that I hated the job. I hated it, and I hated it for months. I was drinking horribly with my life because it just frustrated me.
Yep.
And I actually, the day I admitted it to the boss, listen, man, I really hate this job. I do. I just hate I hate working here. That's why I'm in the shape I'm in. And he said to me, and I said, I guess I really just need to move on and go find something else because this is just going to kill me if I stay here. And he said, I honor that. And he said, I'll tell you what. He said, you give me 2 weeks. 2 weeks to train your replacement. Anytime you need a favor, you can call me. And I remember I've called that man for favors after I started my own company a couple of years later. Right, I've called that man for favors, and he was always there.
Yeah.
All right. And flip side, there was a deal that he had to go to court over for when I was there, and I was able to be a star witness. And I remember walking down, and the guy who was trying to sue him was a former employee who was someone who was under me when I worked there. This is interesting. I'm at court.
I bet the look on his face was like, holy shit.
No, I'm at court to be the testimony against him. Right? Yet that kid who come up, who's suing, that I'm the testimony to be there against him, comes up, but man, it's good to see you. Because both people liked me. Because I took care of both people. I was the asset in both of their lives.
Yeah.
All right. And even though the guy lost his lawsuit, he still was nice to me.
Because
Why?
you treated
I
him.
was the asset to his life. I may
Yeah.
not have been the asset to him in that legal issue, but I was the asset to his life.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
True.
They're so caught up in, well, they're not my job. I only fit in this corner, not realizing that even though I left that company, right, I was still always there. And I remember, when I ran a company, my head mechanic was this older gentleman, probably my dad's age. He passed away in 2004, 2005. He passed away, and I remember, the guy who owned the company. The two of us went to the guy's funeral together. And we're standing out at the graveside, and I just so Dan, tell me how's things going with this company and stuff like that. And it was shortly after that Dan sold the company. But Dan says, Tim, I miss you. He says, you were the best person I ever hired.
It's nice to hear that.
You know what I mean? That was good to hear.
Yeah.
He says, you were my best hire. I mean, and that guy owned that company since 1978. I was the best hire he ever made.
I had a similar story. I had worked for this gentleman who started a lock company, and he started in his garage and he brought it to this big company. I mean, it was huge, and he had a lot of his family members working there. And I remember him telling, when I gave my notice to move on to something else, I didn't do short-termer. I did all my job. I made sure everything was cleaned up. I made sure I trained the person. I did all of this. And he said, anytime you need a job, anytime you need anything, you call me. I'm there for you. Because what you did was you went above and beyond, even when you were ready to leave and you had 2 weeks notice and so forth and everything. You did everything. You didn't do that short term where I'm out of here. I'm not doing nothing. I'm good. Yeah. You still did your job and got it all done. I did that at another job as well. And they all said, anytime you need something, you come back. That's what my mom always taught me.
But that is the reason why you and I now are looking at things going, well, I want to quit this. We can afford to.
Yeah.
Why? Because we have a million opportunities that everybody else cut off their nose to spike their face on.
Yep.
We didn't.
No.
So now we can go, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Let me cut this part out and move on, right? And we can, because when one door closes, we have 5 more opening up for us.
I agree.
Every time.
I agree.
But that's an entrepreneur. It's an entrepreneur mindset that got us there.
Yeah, I agree. Because we never thought within the box.
Yeah, exactly.
Never thought within the box. And I think life, you always have to think outside the box. Because inside the box is limiting. It limits you from seeing anything else outside those corners.
Okay.
And I think the motto of today's show is you've got to think outside the box. You've got to look at other things and not just what's right here. And that's how you're going to grow. That's how you're going to move. That's how you're going to get here from point A to point B and so on and so forth successfully, instead of, oh, now what do I do? Now what do I do? You've got it. You've managed to think outside that box. So now you've become creative. And I think that's the biggest piece, as like you said, as entrepreneurs, we're all very creative. And that's the reason why, is because we don't think within the box. Creative people don't think in a box. They think outside the box. That's what makes them creative, because they're not thinking inside that box.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, we're at the top of the hour, so why don't we tell everybody who we are, what we do, and move along for the day and quit this.
Well, my sign is over there, and I'm Katrina with KG Website Designs, and we help overwhelmed entrepreneurs. There we go. Overwhelmed entrepreneurs get more done and make more money with their website.
Okay.
And
we just get websites up fast. All right. And wait a minute. We get websites up fast. It's what we do. All right. You don't have a website. We can get one up for you really fast, and we can make it work and serve your purpose. All right. I have this whole model. I'm starting to say now, if your website's not making money, we have a solution for that.
Same here.
All right, guys. I don't know. Maybe we'll be back next week. Maybe we won't. You have to come by and find out.
Yep.
You have to subscribe to find out.
Yes. Check us out. Check us out.
In the famous words, all right, of whoever, I'm out of here.
Yeah.